Welcome to EpiCityX. In today's video, I have here the iPhone 16 Pro on the right side and the 4S on the left. The 4S was released 13 years before the 16 series, and the 16 series has come with a lot of excitement with some interesting updates like the camera control button and general camera upgrades. These are only some of the incremental updates that Apple has made annually since the first iPhone was released by Steve Jobs himself in 2007. But how far have iPhones really come in over a decade? This iPhone 4S from 2011, as hard as it may be to believe, is still working. So let's compare these two phones and find out the true changes between iPhones from Model 4 to Model 16. And as we're talking about this, guys, I'd appreciate if you can like this video and subscribe to this channel. Now, let's get to it. The differences between the phones become pretty apparent from the moment you begin interacting with them, like how the 16 Pro wakes up at a screen touch, but the 4S requires the home button to be clicked. The sizes of the phones have clearly changed, with the new phones being significantly bigger. But even more importantly, the screen itself on the new phones is much bigger as a ratio of the phone. The 16 Pro screen covers the entire front of the phone, except for the side bezels, which are very slim, and the camera island. But for the 4S, not only is the phone smaller, but the screen covers even less space on the front of the phone. In fact, the screen only makes up 60%. The other 40% is mostly taken up by the bezel, which surrounds the entire display, including the area around the home button and the earpiece, sensors, and front-facing camera. Since then, the earpiece, speaker, and sensors have been moved out of the screen area, and the camera has been integrated into an island at the top of the screen. The home button has been entirely removed. This was such a significant change for iPhones, starting with iPhone X, because until then, the home button was really the most defining feature of iPhones. But anyway, I'm glad the change was made because it did lead to a 20% increase in screen sizes. Now, you can't talk about the iPhone without talking about the cameras, and I'll do a camera test in just a moment, but as for the aesthetic, the 4S has the camera embedded inside the structure of the phone. The entire back of the phone was completely plain, whereas now we have the three cameras sticking out. There's something really satisfying about the 4S camera. It feels more comfortable and aesthetically more pleasing. Although the new cameras on iPhones have become pretty iconic, I think I prefer the 4S design. The display of the Apple logo has also changed. The logo on the 4S is much more prominent, with the shining silver contrasted against the all-black model, but now the logo is much more subtle and blends into the phone. This is another update where I think I prefer the 4S. I love how unapologetically and dominantly the logo just shines on the 4S. And then the legal jargon at the bottom has been removed, which I imagine was required many years ago but isn't anymore. By the way, remember, the iPhones up until the 4 series were only available in either black or white colors. The first time we had color options was with the Model 5, which I really appreciate. I appreciate that we have additional color options now. So looking at the side frame of the phones, on the right side, the SIM card tray has been removed entirely, and in the same spot, the new camera control button has been included on the 16 Pro. The recent previous models had the 5G mmWave antenna at the same spot. The 16 Pro also has the power button on the right side, which the 4S has at the top. In addition to that, the 4S at the top also has the headphone jack, which honestly, I still miss that. On the left, we have the volume control buttons. For the 16 Pro, the mute toggle has been replaced with the capture button, and all three buttons are very similar looking with the same design. The 4S though is much more unique with the circular volume buttons and a toggle for the mute option. I really love the design of the volume buttons on the 4S. Something about them feels more creative. I'd love to see Apple bring back these circular volume buttons. Aside from that, the frame itself has also come a long way. The 4S had the stainless steel frame, while the 16 Pro has a titanium made frame, which is meant to be sturdier and lighter in weight. At the bottom, remember the horror? That was the 30-pin charger dock. Thankfully, that has been replaced and is now a USB-C connector. The speakers and microphone arrangement has been changed in design and layout just a little bit, although the placement is similar to before. Now let's turn these phones on, and again, the 4S requires clicking the home button and then swiping right instead of up. The interaction with the power and volume buttons has changed a little bit. Here's what it looks like on the 4S. What's really surprising and interesting is the design of the interface and the Apple apps. These haven't really changed much. In fact, most of them are nearly identical. While their functionality and capabilities have upgraded, at first glance it feels as though the software of these phones has stopped still in time. This is perhaps part of what makes people think that iPhones have not changed much over time. Anyway, now for the big test. Have the cameras on iPhones really improved as much as Apple claims? The 4S only has a single 8MP camera, while the 16 Pro has a 48MP main, 48MP ultra-wide, and a 12MP telephoto camera. In addition, the 4S camera feels a bit more limiting and clunky in use, compared to a much smoother and more intuitive experience on the 16 Pro. Here's how the photos from the two compare. The pictures are clearly better on the 16 Pro, the quality is much more improved, but especially when you look closely, it's the lighting that has been really enhanced on the 16 Pro. The video differential is even bigger. One last thing I do want to share with you guys relates to Siri. Now, there's a lot of complaints about how Siri is so much far behind many of the new voice command features on other devices. To put things into perspective, Siri was not always there on iPhones. Before Siri, we had voice control. Here's how useful that was. How's the weather today?
No match found.
Yeah, it wasn't great. This is not to say that Siri does not deserve criticism. I think it does. Apple needs to do better there. And they have claimed that they are going to do better with the upcoming OS upgrade. So we'll see how that goes. But remember, Siri itself once was a big upgrade. Critics of Apple often claim that every generation of iPhones is often exactly the same, and while maybe that appears to be the case with minor changes year to year, over time iPhones have evolved so much that at times it's difficult to tell that new generations of iPhones are really part of the same iPhone lineup. Guys, do share what your thoughts are on this comparison and what your favorite upgrades on iPhones have been over the years. That concludes this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like this video and subscribe to this channel. I appreciate your support and thank you for watching.